Since the update 4, you can now export and import presets for the KeySwitch Expression Map. On the one hand, this allows you to easily archive your own presets for quick reuse in other Ableton projects. But beyond that, the idea is also that users of the KeySwitch Expression Map can share their presets with other users on the homepage. This way, not everyone has to start from scratch, but can directly download ready-made presets, at least for the common libraries, and start making music right away. In the last weeks, a lot of presets have been already added to the homepage, from Spitfire Audio, Vienna Symphonic Library, Orchestral Tools, East-West, or as well from Cinematic Studio. Here's a quick video on how to download and import them into your Ableton project. You can find the presets in the support section of the homepage. The link is copied to the description of the video below. If you click on the floppy disk icon, you will land on this page here, and you can choose between hardware instruments and virtual instruments. If you want to share your presets with other users, the eternal gratitude of the community is guaranteed. You can upload the file with a few clicks. Just select the file or zip folder with the presets on your computer. Click on a category, give it a title. You can add your name and a description as well. If you like, you can also enter your mail address so that I can thank you, or in case of a question, and upload it. Don't worry, your mail address will not be published. Basically, your upload will first land on my computer and then I have to manually release it, so that no spam ends up on the homepage and all downloads are 100% virus-free. But back to the topic, how to import a preset. You're most probably watching this video to download, I guess. Let me scroll up again and we'll go to the Virtual Instruments page. Here you can either scroll through the available presets or search for a specific library. Let's go directly for the first one. Click on the download button and save the preset somewhere on your computer. In this case, it is a zip folder, which you have to extract with a right mouse click. Now you can see the subfolders with the different instrument sections, brass, harp, strings, etc. In Ableton, if you go to the Manager tab of the KeySwitch Expression Map, you will find the buttons to import or export presets. When I click on Import, a pop-up window will open. Here you navigate to the folder with the downloaded presets and select an instrument. Now press on Open. Since version 4.2, you can also drag and drop your presets from the Finder or Windows Explorer onto the surface of the KeySwitch Expression Map. If you are preparing an Ableton project with many tracks and instruments, you can make your workflow much faster like this and don't have to click through to the import button every time. And while I was talking, as you can see, the articulations have been already loaded in the KeySwitch Expression Map, as well as the MIDI controls and even the pitch range of the instrument. If you only use automation envelopes to control your key switches, you can click away the keyboard and have larger pads instead. If you do changes like that and want to save them, you just export the preset again. Basically, that's it already and you can start making music. However, for some libraries, there are so-called custom presets available for download on the homepage. For instance, the contact libraries from Spitfire also have presets that combine the legato and the extended techniques in one instance of the KeySwitch Expression Map. Or there are, for example, user presets created for the Synchron player by VSL. To use this kind of presets, you have to take one more step. For the Synchron player, in that case, you will find additional files in the download folder with the extension vsyn preset. I don't know how to pronounce this. Anyways, you have to copy these files into the user preset folder of the player. If you have already created user presets, you can easily find this folder by right-clicking on one of your presets and the location will be shown in the browser. Now you create a new folder and copy the downloaded files into it. If you haven't created your own presets yet, these are the paths for Mac and Windows. The links are also copied below in the description. Once you have added the files to the user preset folder, they will also appear in the Synchron player and you can then load it as usual with a double click on it. For the Spitfire libraries using the contact player, you can sometimes find two types of presets as mentioned before. Some are called factory and others custom. Factory are the presets for the basic and advanced technique patches provided by Spitfire. You can use these ones out of the box. The custom presets combine all available articulations of an instrument. To use them, you have to load several instrument patches into Kontact's instrument rack. In the case of the chamber strings, for example, these are the legato, core, and decorative patches. Alternatively, you can load the individual techniques into the Kontact multi. Now you have to log the articulations to UACC. To do this, click on the wrench icon here and select UACC at the button. This is important because this way only the instrument plays which contains the selected articulation. The others show the word none and remain silent. If you don't use UACC for multi-racks and you select key switches or program changes instead, then all the instruments that are in the Kontact multi would play, even if they don't provide the desired articulation, so the result would be quite a mess. For the custom presets I have created for Kontact libraries, I have added my Kontact multis into the download folder. If you have the same version of the library, you should be able to use them and save a bit of time like this. If you are thinking of sharing your presets nicely with other users on the homepage, it would be amazing if you also copy your Kontact multis, but in general also user presets for other players such as the SYNCHRON player, Opus or Sign into the folder which you upload. This makes the presets almost plug and play even if they are individually crafted by you. These files of the Kontact multi you put in the instruments folder of the library. For example, you can save them in Advanced and create a subfolder called KeySwitch Expression Map. Now they should appear in Kontact at this location too. If you use this Kontact multis for the first time, most probably a pop-up window with the name Content Missing will appear. To fix this, you click under Resolve manually on the button Browse for Folder. Now select the folder of the library and press OK. The Kontact player will now search in this folder for the missing samples, and after a short moment the Kontact multi should appear in the rack. If that was explained too fast, you will also find a PDF with a short how-to and illustrations in the download folder. This way you can read it again step by step. Generally, I try to create a PDF for all libraries that gives you an overview of the articulations and MIDI controls. I find this quite practical when composing, so you can quickly check the articulations of the individual instruments and their consistency. In many downloads you will find two presets for the same instrument. The reason for this is that, as we have just seen in the PDF, often not all instruments have the same amount of articulations in the library. For example, as with the trombones here, the trills are missing compared to the other instruments of the brass section. In the first presets there is an empty pad. This doesn't look so nice, but if you want to copy automation envelopes for the articulations back and forth between the different instruments of an orchestra section, then the breakpoints would still represent the same articulations. The other preset, which have in this example the appendix compressed, look nicer because there are no placeholders for the missing articulations. But if you then copy an automation envelope from the trumpets to the trombones, to stay with our example, then a wrong articulation would be set. Instead of trills, we would hear at this breakpoint of the envelope a long and muted note. Hence, for composing on the computer, it is best to use the first type of preset. On the other hand, the compressed presets could be more practical for a live show, for example, when you change the articulations manually with a keyboard or MIDI controller. This way all key switches are nice and snug together. By the way, and because it is nearly the end of the video, when creating presets, I personally always start with the most, let's say, popular instrument of a section, as this one usually have all articulations. For example, the first violin of the strings, the piccolo or first flute for the woodwinds, and so on. The best thing to do is to take a quick look at the homepage or user manual of the library to find out which instrument has the most articulations. Then you can take this instrument to create a preset as a template, and you only delete the missing articulations and maybe adjust the notes. I made the experience that this is usually much quicker. If you like coding and working with scripts, alternatively, you can also edit the presets directly in a text editor. The structure is quite simple and clear. I do this sometimes to create the compressed presets on base of the other ones. Then I quickly delete the empty key switches and adjust their numbers. But you have to be careful not to make any mistakes, otherwise your preset might not work when you import it into the KeySwitch Expression Map. Okay, that's it. I hope the video was helpful. If you have any questions, please always feel free to write me. Also, if you find a mistake in the presets, I'm grateful for a hint. Thanks for watching. See you next time.